Hi, today I'm going to be showing you how to read an intermeshing crochet chart and how to get started with the project. So this is the chart for the Cobblestone Scarf, and when you buy the pattern it comes with two charts. So you get this one is for the front facing and this one is the back. So on the chart you can see that this first row, row 0, is all just solid, so that is just not even intermeshing it. That's just your starting row. And down below here you can see these colored boxes. So all of the boxes that are colored, that indicates columns that you're going to work when you're doing your main color, and the other columns you're going to work when you're doing your secondary color. And this will make more sense as we get started. The side, I always have the main color go on both sides, so it's not really an intermeshing stitch either. It's just a regular double crochet along the side. So for each row, you'll see there's a 1A and a 1B. So I consider that the same row. 1A is worked in your main color, and 1B is worked in your secondary color. So in this one, 1A is just setting it up, so that's just going to be your single crochet chain space all the way across. And then when you get to 1B, that's when you're starting your secondary color. So this right here is going to be the first stitch with your secondary color, and it's got a B on it just to make it even more clear. If it's colored in for the secondary color, it's going to be a back. It's going to be worked behind your primary color, and then front, and then back, and then front, and then back, and then front, and so forth. You'll see that for row 2, I didn't put any letters in here. That's because for row 2, you're facing the back of the work. So for row 2, I would look at the other chart, and I would see here for row 2, it says, this is important, before I start working with my main color, I need to make sure that my secondary color is in front of my work. Then I would look at row 2, and I would see, okay, I've got my side stitch, because I'm working in my main color, all of my A rows are my main color, and then, so this might be my first one, then in front, then in back, then in back, then in front, then in front, then in back, then in back, all the way across. Then without turning, I would then work my secondary color, front, back. So I'm going to do just a couple rows of this so you can really understand how it works. So I have yarn here. This is the exact same yarn I used for the intermeshing scarf. This is my main color, and this is my secondary color. So I'm going to start with my main color. And I'm going to make a starting row. So this has 31 stitches. 1, 2, well actually I'm going to do a foundation single crochet just because I like it better. Unless I counted wrong, which I might have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 31. Okay, I have 31 stitches, which is the length of my scarf. I should have made a smaller version for the video, but that's okay. So now I have 31 single crochets, and this is going to be row 1A. This is really just my setup row. So what I need to do is single crochet chain 1 all the way across. I'm going to start with chain 2. This counts as my single crochet and my first chain. I'm going to skip 1 stitch, single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet, and I do this all the way across. Now I've done a single crochet chain 1 all the way across my starting chain, and then I'm just going to pull up a loop and leave that for now. I'm not going to turn the work around yet because I need to attach my secondary color. So I'm going to get my secondary color ready on my hook. Now, you could do a standing starting double crochet if you want to, or just a chain 3. It doesn't really matter. So on here, you can see that my first stitch for my secondary color is going to be a B, so it's going to be in the back. So I needed to start with my yarn in the back, and this row is going to alternate. It's going to go back, front, all the way across. So to start it, it's got to be behind this chain of my main color. So I'm going to make sure I push that to the front so that I'm working behind, and I'm going to work into that single crochet that I skipped. Now, like I said, you could do a standing starting double crochet, or however you like to start it. For simplicity, I'm just going to join and chain 3. So that's my first double crochet. Then I chain 1. And now, because we're alternating front to back, my next one's going to have to be from the front. So I'm going to find the next skipped stitch, which it looks like is right here. It's a little hard to find sometimes. Then I'm going to go from the front now through that stitch. I'm going to be careful not to catch this loop of main color on my hook. Oops, I forgot to yarn over. So we're all working double crochets now. So yarn over through the front and finish the double crochet and chain 1. Always going to double crochet chain 1 except for the very first row and the very last row. Sorry, my kids are in the background. Okay, then we're alternating again, so I need to find the back again. So here's my skipped stitch. I need to go from behind, so I'm not going to catch that. I can push it to the front if I want and go through that stitch. Back, pull up a loop and finish my double crochet, then chain 1, and then I'm going from the front again. So I'm going to find my next skipped stitch right here, yarn over, from the front I go through, and finish. So I'm going to do this all the way across. I'm going to go front, and then here's my next one, but I have to go from the back. Then chain 1. So you can see how I've got some of these that are posts in the front and some of these that are posts in the back. I'm going to keep going. So my next one's a front. And back. Okay, from here on out, so I think of this as really a setup. So now from here on out, the main color is only going to work into main color stitches, and the contrast color is only going to work into contrast color stitches. So we've set up our intermeshing pattern. and this is the end of row 1. So we did 1A was the black or the dark gray, doing single crochet chain 1 over and over and over, and 1B was the contrast color, working starting from the back and the front in all of those skipped single crochets on the dark. So now it's time to turn it. We're going to go back to our main color so we can get this loop. I'm going to chain 4. This counts as the first double crochet and the chain 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, only because you have to pay attention to where this is. So this secondary color loop either is going to be in the front or in the back. So on your charts, I've written, so we're on row 2 now, so we're looking at the back. I've written at the beginning of the row, B in front. So for this row, I'm going to start with my secondary color, my B color, in front of my work. So I'm going to leave it in the front here and work it this way so that it's ready to be on this side of the work when I work the secondary color. Okay, so let's look at what our chart says. So we're on row 2, 2A, because we're on main color. So it says B in front, so we did that. And then we're going to go front, front, back, back. Notice there's no symbol here, that's just our side, so that was our turning chain. We don't need to worry about that. So we're going to work in the front, in the front, in the back, in the back, in the front, in the front, in the back, in the back, and so forth. So 2 fronts, 2 backs, 2 fronts, 2 backs, all the way across. So we got our turning chain. We've got our contrasting color in the front to start with. Now we're going to work into where this single crochet was down here with our main color. So we're doing 2 in the front, so this one's going to come from the front, double crochet, and again it's always double crochet, chain 1. The only thing that changes is whether it's working from the front or the back. So that was 1 in the front, here's 2 in the front, double crochet, chain 1, and then we have 2 in the back. So we're going to make sure we go behind and through that skipped stitch, chain 1, another one from the back. Now make sure that you skip this contrasting color stitch, because you don't want to go around it like this because it'll push it aside, so you make sure you skip over it to get to that next stitch that we skipped. That'll keep your pattern nice and lined up. Then we got 2 in the front. Again, I'm going to make sure I skip over that. I don't want to push it aside because that's in between. Double crochet, chain 1, another front, double crochet, chain 1, and then we're going back to the back, double crochet, chain 1. Again, make sure I skip over that secondary color stitch so that I don't lock it in there. Double crochet, chain 1. Skip over that because we're not ever going to work into the contrasting color until the very end. So from the front, double crochet, chain 1. Again from the front, double crochet, chain 1. So you can see this is not actually attached to this contrasting color. They're just woven through each other while we work. Then from the back. And I think it gets much easier after you get past the first 2 rows, because then you're all working in double crochet and it becomes a lot easier to see where to put your hook. So the first couple rows can be a little bit tricky, just to make sure you're finding the skipped stitches in the front. But after this row, I never have to work into single crochets again, and it becomes much easier to see what's going on. This yarn is really fuzzy too, so it makes it a little bit harder to see what's going on. I suppose I could have used a different yarn for the demo video. And then this last one is just that turning chain. You can even kind of pull it and see when to see where to go. Pull up a loop, and then again we're not going to turn it because that was just 2A. We still have to do 2B. So you can see now we're starting to get this pattern. We've got the contrasting color alternating because of the row before. Then we've got 2 of my main color in the front, 2 of my main color in the back, and all the way down. And now we're going to switch to color B. Our color B is in the front here, ready to go, because we made sure that we looked at our chart and it saw that B needed to be in front. If you buy it from somebody else and they don't tell you whether to put it in front or back, if you look at the 2B row, you can see that it's a front stitch, so the yarn needs to be in front to be ready for that front stitch. So you can tell from the chart even without that, but I just think it's easier to have it written out clearly. Okay, so now we've got to do contrasting color. So we need our 1, 2, 3, 4. That counts as my first double crochet and my turning chain. So that counts as this first front double crochet here. So now I can see on 2B I've got front, back, front, back, front, back. I'm alternating front and back again. So that was front and then back. I'm going to put it right in the top of the double crochet from the row before. See that? It's focusing. There you go. So I'm always working into the double crochet from the row before of the same color. So now a front into this one from the row before. And always having a chain in between my double crochets. Back. And then the front. And then the back. Now most rows on this pattern, the white is gonna, I think actually every row, the white will alternate it front, back, front, back. It just, on some of the rows, you'll have 2 that match like this, and all the rest of them will be alternating, whether it's in the front and the back. But white, or the contrasting color, always will go front, back, front, back. So it makes it a little bit easier. And in this pattern, the main color rows actually almost always are just front stitches. So it's really a pretty simple pattern once you get going. Just looks more complicated than it is. I kind of like things that look really hard but actually really aren't, because then people are like, oh wow, that's so cool, you made that? I don't think I could ever do that. You're like, oh, actually it's not that bad. And then you can feel kind of cool. And then again, when you work into this turning chain, sometimes it's really hard to see, so you can just pull it aside, and then you can see your turning chain well, so you can see where to work into. Okay, so now that is 2 rows done. Well, 3 rows if you count row 0, my setup row. So you can see on the back, I've got these kind of H's, just like on my pattern, I should have H's coming. And then the next row, I'll turn back to my front chart. So it is a little bit tedious that you have 2 charts, but it makes it a lot easier to see what it should look like. So you can see my front chart says I should have pluses and lines showing up, and sure enough, when I look at the front, I've got a plus line, so my pattern is working. And now when I start row 3, I'm not going to keep working, I'm just going to hope that that's enough to get you started. But when I start row 3, you can see that again I need to have my contrast color in front, so I'm going to make sure that that contrast color, my B color, is in front of the work when I start. And you will have some rows later on where it has to be in the back. So if it has to be in the back, again, so if I have it in the front, then I just pull it up here, and then I work around it. And if I need it in the back, I just put it behind, and then I work around it. So that, because remember, that turning chain really counts as your first double crochet, and it needs to be ready to be in the front or the back depending on the row. So pay attention to that, and then just remember the front chart is going to be all of your odd rows, and the back chart is going to be all of your even rows. You work the main color, and then the contrast color, and then you turn. So 1A and 1B is the front, 2A, 2B is the back, 3A, 3B is the front, and so forth. In this pattern, there's a repeat, I think it's row 4 through 15, but it says in the pattern. And then to finish, so let's just pretend that I just got to the end of my chart. I could tie off this contrast color because I don't need it anymore. And then to finish with the main color, I'm going to go back to, I want a nice even line to end it. So I need to reconnect to my contrast color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1. Actually, no, I'm going to chain 3 for double crochet. And now in my contrast color, I'm going to single crochet. And in my main color, I'm going to double crochet. And when I double crochet this time, I'm going to go over that chain in my contrast color. So I'm getting everything back up to the same height. My main color was kind of a half row below my contrast color, and so I'm bringing it up to the same height by doing single crochets in the contrast color and double crochets in the main color. So I'm going to do a single crochet, and here I don't do any chains in between because I'm doing single crochets in the contrast color. So single crochet in my contrast color, double crochet in my main color, letting it go around that chain in the contrast color so I hide it. Oops. Redo that. Again, single crochet in my contrast color, double crochet in my main color, single crochet in the contrast color, double crochet in my main color. So it's really pretty easy to get it back together. And some people don't do intermeshing crochet this way, but I like to have it connected at the bottom and the top so it's nice and smooth. I could actually work swatches of this kind of in the middle of a project and then keep going on working regularly. And so that's kind of fun. If you have seen, I've got like a, I'm trying to remember what I called it, a baby blanket that I made for my son that uses intermeshing crochet interchanged with regular crochet to make it look kind of like quilt squares, and it's really fun. I can link to that one also if you want. Oh, I'm just going to stop there because you get the idea. Alright, so then I'm left with a nice finished. Yeah, that's kind of fun. That'd be like a cool strap or something, or a belt. Anyway, so to finish it off, you do alternating single crochet in the contrast color, double crochet in the main color, single crochet in the contrast color, double crochet in the main color, all the way across so that you have reconnected your contrast color and you've got a nice even edge that you can then go on and do whatever you want with. So I hope that helps. I hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos, and if you'd like to purchase this pattern, I will pop a link down in the description, so make sure you go check that out.